anxious about where to take her, I asked AI. The first Thanksgiving. American schools generally teach a conventional story about the meeting of pilgrims and Indians that finished with an amazing dinner. The end. But there's more to the tale. This video will explain the events around the first Thanksgiving and how it's not the image ingrained in tradition. At the start of the 17th century, southern New England was home to a variety of busy communities within several confederations. These were the people of the First Light, and they called their home the Dawnland. Political leaders were known as sachems and had been trading with Europeans for over 100 years before the Pilgrims. Relations soured only after deceitful Europeans kidnapped locals to sell as slaves. Permanent European settlement was impossible due to the already high population of native occupants. But in 1616, tradesmen introduced a disease to the Dawnland, whose inhabitants died in droves from a lack of immunity. In 3 years, up to 90% were wiped out in several confederations, including the Wampanoag. Their head sachem, Massasoit, was aware of how close they were to being subjugated by their unafflicted enemies, but not ungodly. He was determined to save his people from such a fate. This was the political world the Pilgrims were about to enter. The Pilgrims were not...
Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. Remember from the last video I uploaded about my narcissist parent going crazy on me and shit? When they ended up taking my computer and shit. Well, tell me why yesterday they asked me if I wanted to use their computer. I said, no, I'm good, fuck. Yeah. That's why I just thought about that shit, because I'm still using my goddamn phone and shit.
Not called Pilgrims by their contemporaries. They were known as Separatists, a branch of the English Puritans. King James hated Puritans and began persecuting them in 1604, so the Separatists fled to Holland, where they were free to worship. But because they feared losing their national and communal identity, the congregation wanted a new place to plant their church. They decided on America and asked King James for a patent that would grant them rights to build a colony. They planned to make a profit catching fish to pay off the debts to their investors. The Mayflower set sail on September 6th. 2 months later, Cape Cod was spotted, and 16 men were sent ashore to inspect the area. Unfortunately, the settlers didn't know how to fish, and food was running out. They resorted to stealing from graves, homes, and storage pits to keep everyone alive. Then came their first hostile encounter with natives, but no one was
worthless fucks. Man, they make you want to look bad, man.
They did not land on any
because in America, they don't do shit, but just use those motherfuckers.
Construction began in January. By winter's end, 44 settlers would be dead from bad conditions.
But they really stupid, though. So
in March, they were surprised when a man named Samoset walked into New Plymouth, greeting them in English. He told them they were building on top of a village called Patuxet, whose residents had all died from the recent epidemic. It belonged to the Wampanoag, and their chief, Massasoit, was watching. Settlers were eager to trade, so 5 days later, Samoset returned with birds and companions, including Tisquanto. Known famously as Squanto, he had come to tell them in perfect English that Massasoit had arrived. After years of dealing with Englishmen, the sachem did not trust the newcomers. Edward Winslow was sent to be a hostage and declared the settlers' peaceful intentions. Satisfied, Massasoit walked into New Plymouth and was regally greeted by the governor. A peace treaty was created, ensuring mutual protection against attack by
so they can kill him and use
With the help of Squanto, New Plymouth settlers began to fare better. He taught them how to grow crops and was absolutely vital as an interpreter. To the Separatists, he was a gift from God. But in fact, Squanto had been kidnapped from Patuxet in 1614 and shipped to Spain to be sold into slavery. He ended up in London at the home of a merchant who taught him English and arranged for Squanto's return to the Dawnland in 1619. But Patuxet was now gone, wiped away by the epidemic. Massasoit took him in with suspicion because of his years abroad, but needed a translator to parley with the newcomers. He eventually sent his warrior Hobamok to live among the settlers and keep an eye on Squanto. By fall, the settlers had a bountiful harvest and a feast was held to celebrate. Massasoit showed up with 90 warriors and 5 deer for the meal. For 3 days, the English and Wampanoag ate and entertained one another. This did a translator to parley with the newcomers. He eventually sent his warrior Hobamok to live among the settlers and keep an eye on Squanto. By fall, the settlers had a bountiful harvest and a feast was held to celebrate. Massasoit showed up with 90 warriors and 5 deer for the meal. For 3 days, the English and Wampanoag ate and entertained one another. This was the famous first Thanksgiving children learn about in school. However, the word Thanksgiving would not have been used by these settlers to denote a harvest feast. For Puritans, a day of Thanksgiving was a day of fasting while giving thanks to God in prayer. But the story of Pilgrims and Indians does not end here. During New Plymouth's first year, Squanto had been up to something. Realizing his substantial power as the only English speaker of his people, he conceived a plan to overthrow Massasoit. He persuaded locals he could command the English to make war or peace at his will. Hobomock was suspicious of Squanto and warned Governor Bradford. Soon enough, they discovered Squanto's plot and informed Massasoit, who was furious. He demanded Squanto be handed over for a swift execution. Bradford refused. The interpreter was too valuable to give up. But according to the treaty, Squanto's life belonged in the hands of his sachem. Bradford finally conceded. He was about to hand over Squanto when an unidentified ship appeared. The alarm it caused delayed Bradford and worried Massasoit's envoys. Angered and impatient, they left. The ship carried 60 Englishmen planning to build a colony near Boston. They abused the Massachusetts locals, initiating a conspiracy to kill the colonists. Warned about the plot, New Plymouth's leaders launched a preemptive strike to save their impudent countrymen. It brought peace for a time. In that time, more Puritan settlers arrived, soon outnumbering the natives. And while the Pilgrims' Treaty with Massasoit lasted until the sachem's death, other Puritans were not concerned with such alliances. Their fanatic religious principles ensured no peace between the two cultures could last. To Puritans, Native Americans were the other, wild, savage, godless. With such an ideology, the outcome was inevitable. If they did not convert to Christianity and surrender their cultural identity, they had to be eliminated. The first Thanksgiving was a brief moment of harmony between two worlds, but sadly it was short-lived. The capitalist opportunities the Dawnland presented, combined with zealous puritanical beliefs, were incentive enough to wipe away the native inhabitants. There is nothing wrong with sharing a feast of thanks with loved ones, but remember the true events that started the holiday, and not the fairy tale.
Sonic 2% deal. When you smell something fresh and need it now,
when I think of Thanksgiving, what comes to mind is not thankfulness or a turkey. What I think of is far more important and serious.
I ain't gonna lie, man. This would piss me off too if I seen this shit.
Every year, at the end of November, families all across the United States celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. This occasion has evolved into a time of expressing gratitude and sharing a bountiful meal with family. Relatives have awkward conversations while a huge turkey is scarfed down around a table.
Like I said, man, stay focused, man.
When I was in grade school, my history books depicted the first Thanksgiving meal as a peaceful gathering between white European settlers and Native American people. But there is a lesser-known truth behind this narrative.
Focus on the light, man.
This Thanksgiving origin story that I was taught in school was a revisionist and whitewashed version of what actually happened. Following the arrival of Christopher Columbus on the shores of America in 1492, a steady stream of white European families traveled across the Atlantic Ocean to settle in this new territory. At first, they were ill-equipped to handle the harsh realities of its wilderness and climate. But indigenous tribes fed them and taught them how to grow corn and other crops to live on the land. Then, everything took a turn for the worse. This is where the revisionist whitewashing in this story happens, because it was not a peaceful coexistence between Native American tribes and white colonial settlers. Empowered by their religious beliefs and a racist disdain for the indigenous tribes, white European settlers murdered and stole from the indigenous communities who had been thriving on this land for thousands of years
and they did it off the name of
generations.
Religion. Damn,
These colonial settlers destroyed indigenous
the sadness in this nigga's
for
eyes.
thousands of years and multiple generations. These colonial settlers destroyed indigenous cultures by eradicating them and even sold captive tribal members off to slavery.
Look at them trying to kill the damn
This
religion.
brutal and racist genocide continued throughout the expansion of the United States westward to the Pacific Ocean. Five-term governor of Plymouth Colony, William Bradford, described Native Americans as savage people who are cruel, barbarous, and most treacherous. At every level, the settlers were intent on vilifying and disempowering indigenous people. Thanksgiving has been whitewashed as a symbol of kind gratitude expressed by the white European settlers toward native tribes. This revisionist history only serves to silence the stories and voices of the millions of indigenous people who were slaughtered under a heartless and a cruel colonialist agenda. Since 1970, the United American Indians of New England have carried out the National Day of Mourning during the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. This is what they have to say about it. Thanksgiving Day is a reminder of the genocide of millions of Native people, the theft of native lands, and the relentless assault on native culture. Participants in National Day of Mourning honor Native ancestors and the struggles of Native peoples to survive the day. It is a day of remembrance and spiritual connection, as well as a protest of the racism and oppression which Native Americans continue to experience. As you enjoy your turkey over Thanksgiving, you have the power to acknowledge the impossibly sad and deeper truth behind the occasion. Talk about it and share this truth. Or perhaps do not even celebrate the holiday at all. People often say that ignorance is bliss. I would take this a step further and say that ignorance is a complete lack of compassion.
Because the whole world's celebrating it, man. Why I gotta stop?
We need more compassion.
Get the whole world to stop.
Compassion toward the indigenous survivors who continue to face this oppression.
To the uppers, man.
Within our hearts and minds, we need compassion that honors the lives and dignity of the millions of murdered indigenous people of America.
Yeah, okay. What we need to do is kill all the white people looking at us. That's just fucked up, man. You know, you can't make this right. You can't make this right, man. Just have to think positive and just go with the flow, man. Because then you have to talk to the uppers to stop this shit. You talking about the president, man. The schools, bro. See, that's what, you know. Yeah, that's my reaction on this shit, man. Let's watch one more. Because at least, you know, we get one more. Let's watch one more.
Right now on FanDuel, bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bet.
Lies.
These are Native Americans, yo. Alright, let's see what they say.
Thanksgiving. Lies.
Bro, you can see the gay in his face. That's crazy. You can see the gay in this nigga's face. That's crazy. Look at that. He do got like a savage face though, on my mama. You can see the gay in this nigga's face though.
Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Lies.
Lies, tell me lies, baby. Tell me how you hate me.
Sadness. Total sadness. Thanksgiving is a time when my family gets together and tells stories about our creation myths and
that's
who
fucked
we
up.
were.
See, I ain't even think about that, man. How does this affect the Native Americans? She cute, but her mouth just, you know, her teeth fucked up.
Who we are. And
Mouth too big.
really what we lost.
Perfect.
Inaccurate. I like the overall idea of Thanksgiving, but not where it actually comes from.
Turkey and white pilgrims. I don't know what the first Thanksgiving was, but I highly doubt it was a group of happy pilgrims and a group of happy Indians cooking turkey together.
Family.
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 Happy Pilgrims and a group of happy Indians cooking turkey together.
Family.
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 Watch football, overeat.
Warm. A celebration.
Thankful.
I don't really celebrate the holiday for like what it actually is, more of like just getting to have family over and eat. Colonization. I think it is important to give thanks and to have a day for that, but maybe the history of why we celebrated it in that certain way is more complicated.
That's evil.
Oh, that's a horror. Horror beyond measure. Terrible, brutal, atrocity, massacre.
There was a massacre. Puritans came and slaughtered them. They didn't want to eat with the savage. They slaughtered millions of us.
They didn't want to eat with the savage.
I don't know why they call themselves Puritans.
Romanticized. I would definitely say the story of Thanksgiving and coming together is definitely romanticized because of the horrible atrocities that were committed against us.
Thanksgiving, to me, means a day for football and lots of good eating and trying not to think about what it really represents.
Damn. I'll repeat that. Make that sound, bro. That's it? Alright, man. That's it, bro. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment if you're a part of the video. Tell that notification bell, turn your notification bells on. Comment if you're a part of the video, if you can follow me. You know, stay tuned, because a lot of things are gonna come to the channel, a lot of big things, man. If you want to support the channel, man, you have my CashApp down in the description. If you want to follow my Instagram, in the description. Don't forget to share this with your friends, man. Show the truth about Thanksgiving, man, and how it affects Native Americans. Man, see you guys on the next episode of Swag Nation. Of Sledrorodriguez, you know what it is, man.